Yes, it's terrible news. It's always so heart-rending when we hear about people who have lost their lives at our closed and militarized borders, whether at the UK or around Europe. It's a disaster, and it has to mark a point of change for this government in their approach to refugees.
Right, and change in what way? What is the way to stop this, in your view?
Well, we just heard very disappointingly from the Prime Minister that his intention is to just plough on with the same failed approach that we've been pursuing for 30 years. And it obviously hasn't worked. People won't disappear behind another round of spending on border fences and securitization. When we try to close down routes for people to seek asylum, all we do is lose control of the situation and hand it over to the smugglers. This government's new bill that's in front of Parliament right now is complicit with the smugglers who are bringing people across the Channel. This is the time for the government to stop, turn around, completely change their approach, pull its head out of the sand and give people ways to travel to the UK for the purpose of seeking asylum safely, take them out of the hands of those smugglers.
But does the Prime Minister have a point? He says the key is to break up these gangs that he says are getting away with murder. And if you are successful in breaking up the gangs, you at least tackle that side of the problem.
Well, Mark, I mean, you've been reporting on this issue for many years, I'm sure. And I'm sure that you've heard Home Secretary after Home Secretary and Prime Minister after Prime Minister say that all they need to do is get to the nub of these gangs. And this same approach has failed us, and it will continue to fail us. We need a new approach, and that involves taking away the business that exists for the smugglers. And that means giving people safe routes to come to the UK. And that might mean that it goes against what this government's agenda of hostility has been to date. It might mean that we see a few more people seeking protection in the UK, but if none of those people were making these dangerous journeys across the Channel in chaos and were arriving in unregulated ways, but instead they were able to apply for a visa, come safely just the way you or I would travel from France, and join their family members or the place where they feel that they'll be safe because they can speak the language or they have other connections, and seek asylum here in a system that is funded to work efficiently, then that would solve this problem, and that would end our complicity with these smuggling gangs, and it would end these tragedies like we've seen tonight.
So when the Home Secretary says the routes need to be made unviable, I will make the route unviable, what do you think she's trying to achieve?
Well, I hope that somebody will ask her what the assessment that her own department, the Home Office, made of her bill says about whether this will make the route unviable. Her bill is, by her own department's assessment, going to force people to take more dangerous routes. Her own department's assessment says there's no evidence that her approach will stop people from trying to cross the Channel or make irregular journeys to the UK. We have seen this approach tried, as I say, at our own border for decades. The issue at Calais has never gone away, no matter how harsh our Home Secretaries have been in their attempts to crack down, because, as I say, when we try to close off these routes, we lose control of the problem. We hand it to the smugglers, and it results in these horrendous stories of people dying, which nobody in the UK wants to see. The UK is a compassionate country. We want to protect refugees, but we don't want to see this chaos, and we don't want smugglers getting rich and laughing at us for our, desperate efforts to close down these routes. We need to open up more routes for people to come safely. That's how we take control.
Zoe, I just want to show some pictures that we have from Calais, and I think if we have them in a moment, and this is the latest. We have live pictures, in fact, from Calais, and we're expecting a news conference from the Interior Minister, Gérald Darmanin, is due to hold a news conference there shortly, and we'll bring you that just as soon as we get it. But Zoe, I mean, clearly, this is a complex issue that is not going to be quickly solved.
Yes, It is, but we're also tired, and I'm sure that we'll hear, real compassion and real sadness from the mayor of Calais. And we heard, our politicians also saying that this is such a terrible tragedy and it's such a complicated issue. At the end of the day, these mealy-mouthed excuses have to stop. We need a change of approach. This approach has failed us, and as long as they keep pushing this failed deterrence model, they are complicit in this carrying on. So I think all of us really, really need to take this moment, a desperately sad moment, so many men, women, and children whose lives have been lost for no reason, and change our approach. The Home Secretary needs to step back and look at what her policies are doing.
And it will require, whatever solution is found, will require a political agreement between London and Paris, between Britain and France, which doesn't seem very likely at the moment anyway.
Well, why would the French agree to simply just take all the refugees who want to come to the UK? And we say to them, we're slightly located to the west of you, and so none of this is our problem, it's all your responsibility. Why would they agree to that? We have to step up and take in our fair share. That's what cooperation really means. And if we provide a route for people to travel safely to the UK from France, then I'm sure that the French will be more open to real collaboration with us in order to actually solve this problem.
I mean, but I suppose many people argue that the French have a duty to protect these people when they arrive in their country.
Absolutely, and the French have a lot to answer for. The treatment of migrants in the Calais region is absolutely an international disgrace. And it's a big part of the reason why people don't feel safe in France. They're left destitute, they're left homeless. Even when they're prevented from taking one journey, they're just dropped off and left again with no support, homeless in the region. And obviously, they may well try to make that journey again. So this is a Europe-wide failure. And we are one of the richest regions in the world. And we have seen this same logic fail time and time again. People die in the Mediterranean, people die at the Polish border, people are now dying in the Channel. And we all need to change our approach. And the UK can take the lead in that and show that we are actually a compassionate country, that we deserve to lead the response on this, that we will open our doors to people who are fleeing persecution, and we will let them travel in a way that is safe and secure and that doesn't result in these terrible deaths, because people move. People will always move. People always have moved. We will not turn off some magical tap. We will not find the way to be brutal enough for people to stop trying to escape danger and come to our shores. They are numbers that we are perfectly able to manage if we were trying to manage them. Instead, we're concocting a crisis through this same old failed approach.
OK, Zoe Gardner, thank you very much for your time.